Canada, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias the guy. Well, alright. Over the course of the last week and a half, a lot of my friends and followers, mostly friends, have reached out to me because of not only my X account, but the abilities that I have through my Starlink and just the systems I have in order to cut through a lot of the crap. And I have been helping them to ascertain and proof videos and information that has been going on in Iran. Now, mainstream media is outright lying about what is going on. I'm going to post a link to a video I did earlier for my sister channel, Reality Revealed. On that, I post graphic. I'm not really necessarily worried about that channel. I fight censorship all the time. I've been exonerated every time, but I still get censored because I do push the line on what I can say, on what I can post, because I'm not paid by the Canadian government. I'm not propaganda, so I have to be censored. The whole reason I created this channel was to try to get the truth out. So please, if you can, if you will, like, share, and subscribe. The Iranians need the world right now. The coup that happened back in 1979 and the damage it has has brought upon the planet is inconceivable. The lives lost, the torment, the rights removed, the freedoms disregarded. All of this needs to end. In order to do so, you have to cut the head off the snake. That snake starts and its head lives in Iran. It is the Islamic regime that took that nation over. Like I said, I'm going to post the link. I urge you to watch, and again, if you can and if you will, like, share, and subscribe to my sister channel. I post on that channel stuff the internet tries to remove. So obviously it gets censored hardcore. But in the same aspect, because I do it on that channel, I can de-affiliate myself here. Now I'm hoping by posting the actual link below that I don't get nailed and have to go to the YouTube courts all over again to prove everything that I am saying and doing is right, only to be proven right, get my channel back, and then be censored anyways. So this is why it's up to my audience to help get the word out, get the truth out. Sorry, so sorry. Just the facts, just the truth. Now, I apologize. My eyes are swollen. My throat is sore. I got a puke bucket beside me. I've been through, well, every box of tissue I have. I'm just onto the heavy, hardcore toilet paper rolls because I need tissues. Trying to send communique, and I have to proof them like I do all of my information before I put it out there. I proof it. I ensure that it is not misinformation, that the videos are real, that the information is real, or prove it's fake and share it in that manner to prove it's fake. That's what takes so long in order to do these videos. I don't give clickbait. My goal wasn't to just ascertain as many viewers as possible to try and get a check, and I don't use AI, and I try not to use X. I try to go right to the sources. It takes hours upon hours to do this, and of course I've had some personal issues going on here as well, so I had to shut it down. But what's going on in Iran right now is huge. The House of Cards can fall. The Liberal Party can fall if the truth comes out. And what they have done and how they have propped up this leftist ideology, who are linked with the Islamists, who are trying to create a brainwashing mechanism to soften the idea and just blatantly lie to you about the realities of individual freedom, has to come to an end. And it can only come to an end with viewers. Now, I've got great subscribers, but I need your guys' help. I need you to like, share, and get it out there. People need to see this. So like I said, I'm going to post the gruesome reality on the other video I did on Reality Revealed. This one I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful. I do have a couple fairly graphic, not necessarily graphic. I had to really pick and choose which ones I was showing you. Some of them I'll have to mute because, of course, I can't have, pow-pows going off in the background. I get censored. I can't post certain government documents. I get censored. I can't say politicians' names and I get censored. This is the freedom that Canada lives in today. This has to end. I should have the exact same rights as the propaganda media does. But our world, our country, because of the totalitarian regime of the Liberal Party, yes, the same party that Carney's ruling now, it's all the same, doesn't want that. First, I'm going to start off with an Iranian pastor. Now, this pastor runs an underground, we'll call it church. It's underground. They have to hide what they do from the Iranian regime. They live in constant fear every day. They still, when in public, have to abide by these incredibly just psychotic Islamist radical ideology. They gotta cover their daughters, their sisters, their wives. They can't show any type of love out in public for each other. They live daily at the risk of having someone they love removed, tortured. We'll call it deflowered, but if it's a mother, obviously it's just, I can't say the word, I'm going to get censored, and executed. And even that word, I'm going to get censored. Now, I've known for days now that the numbers of people who have been deceased by the Iranian regime are much higher. And I've been watching live footage before the internet was shut down, and that number of people deceased was already well above 4,000. That was 4 days ago, 3.5 days ago. The moment they shut down the internet, they started their rampage. And because the numbers of people out there on the streets are so high, and because if the IRCG comes out in their clothing, the people stampede them. You gotta remember, the people have been disarmed. Sound familiar, Canada? All they have is pots, pans, and pitchforks. Their voices, their feet, and numbers. Now, propaganda has stopped. I believe we're at 13, maybe even more, but 13 that I know of, revolutions since 1979, where over 5 million people have hit the streets. We're talking over 10 million people that I know of are on the streets. They have captured every city. And they know in order to protect themselves, they've learned they must be in numbers Because if there's any small numbers, poof, they disappear. They need large numbers. They make sure everybody is carrying their phones, recording everything. The only person who has helped, truly 100% been there since the beginning, has been Elon Musk and his Starlink and his X, which our governments are trying to shut down. Now, of course, you get a lot of the left, and a lot of the right. They're even going, well, no, our government isn't going to shut it down. Evan Solomon gets out there. The creep, the art scam salesman, who, by the way, sold like illegal paintings to Carney. He's out there going, no. We just want the AI thing settled down and the explicit pictures, and it's all bullcrap, people. Let's start with this interview. And like I said, I'm going to show you the pillow part because I can't put all the reality on my channel. Listen carefully to what he says. This is scary stuff.
Just played for me before we got started that message. I don't know if it's appropriate, but would you play maybe just a few seconds of it so we can hear the message, and then maybe you could translate for us what she said?
Sure, let me play for you. This is his name is Arash, Arash Behfar. That family is here, so I'm going to play. سلام. امیدوارم که حالتون خوب باشه. حال ما و مردم ایران خیلی بده. He said, hopefully you are okay, but our feeling is bad. We are sad. There is shedding blood everywhere. ساعت 12 شب خبر دادن که آرش رو کشتن. آرش جمعه میره بیرون. صدای مردم بشه دفاع کنه از دخترها و پسرامون جلو میره. با شاتگان میگیرن میزننش. همه چشو میزنن. دایم و پسر دایی ها میبینن که آرش داره تیر میخوره همینطوری داره میفته میرن از لای شورشی ها بکشنش بیرون نمیذاشتن جنازه 3 ساعت طول کشیده جون داده بیمارستان نمیتونسته بره So they said they went to protest and help people and they got shot, shotgun. He was in front line. And they didn't able to take the body for 3 hours, and then they didn't allow them to take them to a hospital. سه تا مرد نتونستن این جنازه رو با سختی کل تنشون پر ساچمه و گلوله است داییم و پسراش ما آرشمون از دست دادیم آرشمون شجاعانه دست خالی تنها رفت جلو تنها بود که کمکش نبود صدای مردم شد. He said Arash was alone and said with the shotgun they start shooting him and his cousin tried to take him back but he couldn't do it and they couldn't take the hospital and he died on the hand of his father. جنازه رو نمیذارن بیاد بیرون تا رو خدا کمک کنید خانواده من زنگ زدن دیگه که اینجا کمکمون کنه and they're not allowing to take the body on the grave side. هیچکی نیستش آرش دست فردارم یه عالم شادگاه خورد تا رو خدا صدای همه بشین said please the voice of Arash we are not feeling good please help us.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
This is the accent. This is what I was calling for 7 months, that this regime is cruel, this regime is evil, and we want free Iran. And I know God is in control. My son feels that he's not doing well, but I want to prove him I'm sorry. Some of our members in Iran, and also some of our house churches, like I can't contact to them because everything is closed down. I find some people that had Starlink. Um, I'm trying to see. I heard that some of our close friend and Christian even die. So it's crazy. It's crazy. I heard like around 20,000 people in 2 days got massacre in Iran.
Now, this was taken approximately 5.5, 6 hours ago. The numbers that I have got is we are well over 30,000 people. And I'm going to allude to this a little bit further as we move on in the video. But let's just keep listening to this pastor.
And the voice that I show you, this is like a brand new, and I'm going to send it to news because people should hear, the world should hear.
Well, Pastor, I'm thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your heart. We are with you. We are with you wholeheartedly. I guess the question that I want to leave you with is this: you are in such a heavy position, right? You are here in America, but you are an Iranian pastor in contact with the underground church in Iran. What is your message to the West? What is your message to President Trump? What is your message to Congress? What is your message to the EU? What do you want the West to do right now?
Act right now. This is emergency. Act and save people. Do something because they have guns. People of Iran, they don't have guns. And there is a massacre happening, and we are responsible to do something for people of Iran. And doesn't matter what you believe right now, doesn't matter which political group you are. I want free Iran. As a Christian, as a pastor, I'm standing beside of people, and I want to be voice. And I think this platform that God gave me, like I have a responsibility, and I have to talk about my people. And I love Iran, I love America, and America should act something.
Pastor,
now, in the meantime, this is 4 hours ago. Now I could go through CBC, CTV, I could go through every piece of the legacy media. Instead, I'm just going to touch on two, one in the States and one in Canada, who claim, which we've all debunked, are not bought and paid for, although they do take money from the government. This is what they're saying.
New reports out of Iran this morning detailing just how much the protests have intensified. An Iranian official tells Reuters that over 2,000 people have been killed by what they describe as terrorists. This is the first time authorities have confirmed the growing death toll as the government continues to crack down on protests.
Now, if you see that, I'm going to rewind it just a little wee bit. This is the new weapon of choice. This is what the Iranian regime started using in 2022 during the Mashhad riots. And I'm going to explain to you what they're doing a little bit further in the show. These are shot pow-pows loaded with a specific type of grain and a certain amount of BBs or pellets within them. There's a reason they are doing this. Now we're going to move on to American. Now, like I said, I could touch on every single Canadian media outlet. This is the propaganda that they're putting out there right now. 2,000. I know we are close to, if not more than, 30,000 people gone. Here's the American propaganda.
Well, body bags overflowing at the morgues, total internet blackout, and now potential U.S. strikes. The death toll rising dramatically in just the last 24 hours as anti-government protests grip Iran. At least 2,000 people have been killed. That's according to an NGO that's tracking the numbers. A plummeting.
Gotta love those NGOs. Where do they get their money? Oh, from the governments that are in power. Now, at least down in the States, Trump has started to figure this out thanks to Elon and his Doge, and they started to remove the backdoor funding. But in Canada, they openly, like a socialist or a communist regime, pay the media. People, I'm telling you, it's over 30,000. Now, I can't say confirmed because I haven't seen all of the bodies and blah, blah, blah. I have watched enough footage, especially in the last 5 days. I gotta pause this for a second. That I can confidently say, by the time I am done this video, there will be at least 30,000 people deceased. The last reports that I was looking at on people jailed was in excess of 40,000. They have containment fields. They are chaining off blocks and loading buildings. They are driving down the streets with types of electronics that can find satellite signals. And they are hunting for people who have Starlink because it's the only communication for these people to get video and evidence out. I have personally watched footage of them going into these buildings by the people who are open broadbanding to allow anybody walking by to go on the internet and download videos, being completely executed. Not just one. Everybody. If you're in the building, around the building, they are removing them. And mainstream media has not only allowed this to happen for the last 40 however long years, well, since 1979, they have slowly been brainwashing citizens, not just in Canada, but all of the Western nations around the world, to go against their own moral judgment, their own gut feeling. This is why we have radical protesters protecting criminals down in the States and here in Canada. This is why we have pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine, same thing here in Canada. This is why, and I'm going to show you some pictures a little bit later, there's no pro-Iranian protests outside of the universities. The brainwashing institutes in Canada and in the States.
We need to change the regime. We want to say to Trump, please be on your word.
They don't have any freedom in Iran. Please help Iran. Trump, help Iranian.
You can tell from the community here that that they really feel that we're at a precipice in history where if President Trump and the Americans and the world community don't step up to dispose this of this regime now, it could be another 47 years.
Now, this is just one small reason on why they are pushing the whole regime change. Trump, I thought you said you weren't going to regime change. This is why our media is pushing Venezuela's capture, the Americans' capture of the Venezuelan dictator Maduro was bad. This is propaganda. This is their goal. This is the liberal government's goal. Dystopia. Divide and conquer. They've been educating, brainwashing, I won't say educating, the youth. We have radical teachers and professors. We've allowed our government to spread propaganda, changing the way people feel because they think what they know is right when actually it's wrong. Now, I'm not saying Trump is the go-all to end all, the grand Putin poot. But I will say, in my lifetime, I have never seen a single leader near as transparent, not even close, nor somebody willing to give up voter base to protect the rights and freedoms of other countries around the world. Iran is the head of the snake. 75% of the crap we see going on around the world, persecution against Christians, Jews, you name it, every religion, Zoroastrians, I mean, they're almost completely obliterated off the face of the planet. Our government was funding organizations that were purposely hunting down Zoroastrians. The oldest known religion, acting religion of our time. There's less of them now than ever in history. They say it's less than 100,000 left on the planet. Believe it or not, Zoroastrianism is not only the oldest practiced religion, it's the original Persian religion. Because of after coming out of the steppes, and they like to say Iranian, but Iranians were Persians. They did control the vast majority of the Middle East until it got divided up through extremist views of new religions that had slowly kind of came into place and kind of grew. And that's all of them, from Judaism, right? Christianity, Muslimism, like all of that. These are all young compared to Zoroastrianism. Now, I urge you to click on the link below and watch the Reality Revealed video, because I play a video on there, thanks to Gadsad, who posted it from a lady who kind of goes into what it is. There used to be millions of them in Iran. They were the most heavily persecuted next to Jews and then Christians in that nation. That's what created the underground churches that they have. These people practice in hiding and then dress all up so they can go out in the streets and get their groceries and work a job. It's sick. Our government wants to hide this. They don't want you to know the truth. You will not hear Allah Akbar coming out of Iran. None of these protests, but you will hear it from the pro-Palestinians, Hamas, Muslim Brotherhood, the extremists, the Islamists. These aren't Muslims. These are Islamists. Big difference.
The scene here is peaceful, but it is very passionate. People are losing their families back in Iran, and they're very concerned about that. So the message has been sent loud and clear. But the overall arching message is that time is of the essence. If they let this go, who knows what happens next? Out here on University Avenue, with the Iranian Canadian community. Ernest Rosick, who's doing this video. This is Joe Warmington reporting.
Now, is it wrong to defend the freedoms of people? Is it? Is it like the news wants to try and brainwash you into believing? Is this regime change? Or is this protecting the rights, the democracy, the freedoms of the individual?
That Iranians have given up, we have not. But yeah, show this, because people need to understand what unarmed Iranians are facing. Yeah.
Okay, so Tehran in Sadeghi Square, live war weapons were deployed against civilians. Look at this. Look at this. So let me read this in full. Tonight in Tehran, the terrorist Islamic Republic has deployed a heavy machine gun mounted on armored vehicle in a fully civilian area. This is not crowd control. This is military warfare being aimed at unarmed civilians whose only crime is demanding the end of the regime. A terrorist government that brings battlefield weapons into residential streets has crossed into open war against people. This is a crime against humanity. Guys, look at this. This is why the people who were telling us, like, why can't Iranian people just topple the regime themselves? Against this, unarmed people against this.
Now, what this podcast isn't showing, and I'm sure it's because of the same thing that I have to be careful of on my channel, is you can't show that gun going off, which I have seen the video. And by piecing this all together, they chambered a different style of shell. Now, once again, I allude, I'm going to get into that in a little wee bit. And it'll all start to make sense on what they are doing. But let's deal with Trump. This was 3.5 hours ago.
Iran is on my mind when I see the kind of death that is happening over there, we think. So we're going to get some accurate numbers. I'll have it in about 20 minutes. We'll get some accurate numbers as to what's happening with regard to the killing. The killing looks like it's significant, but we don't know yet for certain. I'll know within 20 minutes. So,
on sanctuary cities,
and we'll act accordingly.
On sanctuary cities.
Says that it will retaliate in the instance of U.S. strikes against U.S. assets in the Middle East. What do you say to U.S. service members about why it is worth the risk to intervene in Iran?
Yeah, Iran said that the last time I blew them up with the nuclear capability, which they don't have any longer. So Iran said that the last time. They better behave.
Mr. President, Intel stock is really high after you invested. Are you?
I'm just going to keep on flipping forward here because he's asked several times.
On Iran, do you have a message for the leaders currently of Iran?
Yeah, the message is they've got to show humanity. They've got a big problem, and I hope they're not going to be killing people. And I'm going to have a report very soon. It would seem to me that they have been badly misbehaving, but that is not confirmed.
Secretary Bessent.
So are you committing not to sending U.S. troops into Iran?
Why would I tell you that? Why would I don't talk about military strategy with a reporter, you know, even though I do like the financial times.
Secretary Bessent.
Are you consulting with our allies regarding Iran? What are they telling you, and why do you think the
Well, I'm not going to tell you what they're telling me. I don't tell you what they...
Why do you think the Iranian leadership continues to defy you, Mr. President?
You think they are?
Well,
it's only been a couple of days.
They continue to kill protesters.
Well, they said that about Venezuela, too, you know. It's only been a couple of days. They haven't defied me. They haven't done anything as far as we're concerned. But it looks like they're killing a lot of people, but it has not been confirmed. I'll know very soon.
On Greenland, sir,
do you
you want to see democracy in Iran?
Ideally, you'd like to see it, but what we want to see is we don't want to see people killed, and we want to see a little bit of freedom for these people. These people have been living in hell for a long time. That used to be a hell of a country. I have friends that used to invest in Iran, and they did well with their investments. It was a great place. The people were great. Even the leadership was good. And now it's living in hell. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
In every single province across Canada, Iranians are on the march.
Iranian Canadians marched the legislative building in Regina on a weekend to make their voices heard. For the last week, protests have broken out all over Iran against the Islamic Republic that have been in power since 1979. Iranians at the Regina protest would like Canada and other countries to not allow the regime of Iran to suppress the people, so that it's not just the citizens against the government.
We ask all people in Canada that have concerns about humanity and human rights to be voice of Iran, to help the voice of Iran to be heard, and can prevent the regime of Iran of suppressing people.
Now, more than 40,000 people were on the streets today in Ontario. One of the largest protests ever seen. Did your mainstream media show it to you? I do. Click on the link to Reality Revealed and you'll get to see the footage of it. Unbelievable. Over 40,000 Iranians came out against Hamas, against the Muslim Brotherhood. We got to see Muslims, Christians, and Jews all in solidarity, marching together for one common goal: freedom. Freedom for the individual. Freedom. And all of them understand that Canada has got major issues. Again, I dive deep into it. I urge you to, check out the video, Reality Revealed. Now, most of you out there probably know who Tommy Robinson is. Now, this poor bugger, he's probably one of the most defamed people on the face of the planet. All he's done is stand up for women. He has stood up for freedom. This guy has gone to jail. He's been beat, starved, oppressed, censored. This is what mainstream has done to anybody who fights for individuals' freedoms, let alone true democracy. Listen carefully to what he has to say and tell me, does this sound like an extremist as he talks to a Muslim YouTuber?
Tommy Robinson, thank you for joining in on CNN News 18. What's your Sunday protest in the UK hoping to achieve for Iranians? Is it time for the diaspora community of Iran to finally stand up, given we've seen Iranians in New York having rallied in support of Iran's national revolution?
So it's not my protest. I'm not organising it. I'm literally going as a supporter. I'm going to show solidarity with the brave and fearless people of Iran. Now, in Britain, because a lot of people say, what's it have to do with Britain? It has a lot to do with Britain because we helped put the Ayatollah in, as did the West, America. We have dirty hands. It's time to correct a historical wrong. That's what I believe. And it's time to stand with those brave, fearless people. For 47 years, they've lived in slavery. I've kept my eye on Iran since the start of my activism. Iran's very different to Afghanistan, Iraq, for the people who are trying to equate it with that situation, because many of those countries were happy to live under Sharia. If you listen to the views of the people in Iraq and Afghanistan and these countries, they want Sharia, they want Islam. That's very different to Persia. It's very different to the Iranian people who have been enslaved by it. Now, we hear so much about feminism in the West, in Europe, in America, and we had the Me Too movement, and we had all these feminist groups and politicians and actors and celebrities speaking up. Well, the only real feminists I've seen in my lifetime, the only real brave, fearless women I've seen are Persian women, and they're in Iran. And they want to dance, they want theatre, they want art, and they want to show their hair. And for showing their hair, they've been butchered.
It's
killed and
interesting you
murdered.
speak about these women because the protests are clearly no longer just about Iran's failed economy and hyperinflation. Images of women lighting up cigarettes by burning the Ayatollah's pictures are going viral. They're burning their headscarves. For the women in Iran, there's been no closure, remember, despite the massive protests that happened in 2022 after the death of Masha Amini in police custody. So, do you think that the Iranian women will now ensure that there are new beginnings for Iran this time around, where they're basically done with the Sharia, they're done with the hijab?
They never wanted the Sharia. They never wanted the hijab. It was forced upon them. So I pray that they do get their freedom, and I believe that we can play a role and we should play a role. And that's what I believe. So as I'm watching it develop, I've watched this for years, as you have. You just talk about previous protests, and I've watched and thought, is this the time? Is this happening now? Is it going to happen? Are they going to fall? This is the closest I've ever seen. This is the largest scale protest, the biggest rise, the biggest revolution we've seen. But I don't think they can do it alone, because right now, jihadists are flooding that country from Lebanon. They're flooding from Iraq. They're coming from all over the place, flooding into Iran to enslave, murder, and kill the uprising and the brave and fearless people. So what Sunday is about, and I think what the Western world needs to show now, and everyone who loves freedom and believes in human rights and believes in the rights of people, should be showing their solidarity, which is all up. I'm going on Sunday just to stand to hope that those Iranian protesters, who, if they can get a glimmer through Starlink and they can get internet access in any way, they can see that the world and the people and the free-loving people around the globe stand with them, and hopefully they get some inspiration from is watching. The world's watching. If we didn't have X, if Elon Musk didn't buy X, no one would know about this revolution, because the absolute failure of Western media, journalists, again, where are the celebrities? Where are all these people who speak up for Palestine? Where are they? Where are they now? When women are being butchered, murdered, men are being obliterated by the state with machine guns, people are being massacred for exercising their rights to oppose an Islamic fascist supremacist regime. Iran are behind everything. Iran have been behind all the terrorism in the world. The West will be a safer place. The world will be a better place if that Ayatollah falls. I can't wait to see the parties and the scenes in Iran when they're finally free. And I hope that this is, I think, the Islamic regime, I think if we could put it on their headstone, it'll be 1979 to 2026. Game over.
I agree 100%. Now remember, this is the person who mainstream media, legacy media, the bought and paid for leftist media, the brainwashing media have been trying to persecute, trying to convince everyday people, freedom-loving people, that this is the reason, this guy is the reason you shouldn't have the right to free speech. You shouldn't have the right to voice or express yourself. Think carefully. The house of cards can crumble, but it starts with Iran. Iran has to crumble. Once freedom is achieved there, and we can allow democracy, the whole world's going to change. Now, he also pointed something out that a lot, in fact, every mainstream legacy outlet isn't telling you. And again, after weeks of me dealing with this, especially the last 5 to 7 days, helping as many people as I can, I can tell you for a fact, the extremists are fleeing all of these radical countries to come and support the Islamic regime in Iran. They are outnumbered. That's why it took 10 days before the government started to react. They didn't have the numbers, but they've been waiting to get all of these other Hamas, Muslim Brotherhood, Palestinian extremists to get into their country to start open firing and suppressing the actual Iranian people. Now, here's some video. I'm going to have to leave it muted because I can't have the pow-pows going off in the background, or YouTube will, of course, well, I'm going to get censored anyways, but I'll get censored extra hard if I have pow-pows going off. Check out the weapons they're using. Every one of them has a shot pow-pow. They are purposely aiming high, face level, or a little bit higher in order to make sure they try to get as many faces as possible. This is done for a reason. This is their newest way to make sure that they don't get accused of, you know, der, when you can blind people, deaf people, stop them from talking. They are purposely, this is so gruesome. They are purposely shooting people in the face, trying to blind them, deafen them, and silence them. Voice boxes people. This is the ultimate punishment. This is how cruel the regime is. Now, we're at 30,000 or more deceased. If that's the case, and they're using this style of weapon against them, how many do you think have been blinded, deafened, and vocals damaged because of it? That large cannon I was showing you is loaded with, I believe they are 9-inch shells, loaded with pellets. These are probably the weapons that took out most of the lives, because of course the impact even from a pellet would be just, it would, you know, take heads off. But think of how far they would go through the crowds. Think carefully, people. Think of how demonic this regime is. And now, a little evidence. I am going to have to speak above him, so I'm going to turn the volume down here because it's not translated. And I'll let you know what he's saying. You think KILL-ing us is a game. That you are the hunters and we are the prey. I swear to God, we are the youth of this country. We aren't outlaws, separatists, or enemy spies. There is pain in our hearts. 47 years of pain. Pain that was always suppressed. With all your might and cruelty, this is what they're doing in order to keep the casualty number down. These people will never be the same. And to the regime, this is perfect, because now they are slaves. Slaves to the system. They have no voice. They have no sight. And they have no hearing. They are perfect slaves to the regime. This is how disgusting, this is how low governments with this type of an ideology will go. They're hoping this is going to stop Trump with the help of all of the legacy media to try and keep them in power. Last words I heard, refueling planes are in 3 countries surrounding Iraq. This is American planes. F-35s are being brought in from all over Europe and the Middle East, surrounding Iran. Benjamin Netanyahu has his entire country on red alert. He has notified all of the hospitals to be prepared for mass casualty events. I don't want to see war. I want to see freedom and peace. But when you have media bought and paid for by governments like our Liberal Party, who, this is what they want. They want fear, hate, and division. Check out one of my earliest videos on the true Liberal Party agenda. It's a dystopian future. This is what they want. They only need to have just one seat for that majority, which is what we're seeing today. Them going around trying to bribe conservatives and NDP to flip seats. They don't want a democratic majority. If the propaganda can't give it to them, they will use any means necessary to take power. This is Canada. You will not find this information on legacy media. It is only us independents, and there is very few like me that are going out of our way to show you what's going on. And I know I'm Canadian Citizen Journal. I try to focus strictly on Canadian politics, but I have had such an outreach of friends and fans who have reached out to me to try and help them. And this does pertain to Canada. By removing the Iranian regime, are you aware of the peace that we can get? All of these pro-Palestinian protests lose the stools they stand on. Propaganda outlets will begin to fall because people will see they have been lied to systematically, daily, yearly, for a decade. And they've done it for much longer, but usually you have a very left and a very right. But in the last 10 years, since the liberal buyout, the socialist buyout of our media outlets, the censorship on YouTube, on Facebook, every single platform out there that has to obey the Canadian socialist law. This is why you need to like, share, and subscribe. Now, can you imagine this driving into your protest and opening fire on you with 9-inch shells loaded with pellets? Can you imagine? How does a people protest against a regime, a small regime, itty-bitty regime, with mass firepower and total control on the people through its propaganda and its military? How will they ever succeed without our help? Now, in Reality Revealed, again, I urge you, watch that video. You will see Iranians come straight out and call Marxist Carney out. That's what they call him. Call the Liberal Party out. Call out our immigration system. Call out every aspect of what the Liberals have been doing to Canada. Tell you they were part of the Freedom Convoy. What? What? You mean that right-wing bunch of white people? No. The most multicultural, diversified, and largest protest to ever happen in Canadian history. The most peaceful protest in Canadian history that propaganda pushed, trying and very convincingly coercing and brainwashing so many Canadians to think that they were everything but freedom-loving. Propaganda, people. It's why I started this channel. I got tired of it. Just like You are. It's not right or left. It's good and evil. And here's a picture of our universities all across Canada. See any Iranian protests? Some pro-Iranian, pro-freedom, pro-women's rights? Silence. These need to be defunded. Professors need to be fired. We need a complete restructuring of the education system. We need to remove pro-fascists, pro-socialist, pro-communist ideology out of the system built by democracy and capitalism, giving these people their paychecks and giving these kids the ability to have these education systems. All of this has to crumble. All of this has to come down. We need a restart. The silence is deafening. Now, I'm going to go through this really quick. This is going to be just a really quick recap, except for instead of using AI and just X, I'm going to do what I always do, which is the research, to give you the ability to watch the entire clips. So you don't have to click on a little X. Now, I'm sorry, in a lot of what I just did with the Iran whole protests, there is no mainstream, there is no YouTube. I needed to use X. So there's going to be a pile of X on there. I tried to find as many videos as I can on YouTube, which I did. I think there's, what am I at here? 2, 4, 6, 8, maybe even a little bit more. I'm going to give you a pile of clips off of X, which normally I try not to do. I try to find the source so that you can watch it in its entirety. Now, there's a whole bunch of the typical YouTubers who are like, you know, AI. They get on there and they blah, blah, blah. The talking points are AI. And I'm just going to kind of go through this really quickly. So let's just start.
And he's just expanded the plant and went to 24 hours and 24-hour shifts. And Jim Farley, you know, everybody knows Jim is a legend in the industry. But they're just saying their business is better than ever. They're doing 24 hours, Jim, now, 6 days a week. And they do expansions, and they're building more plants in the United States because of tariffs. And Jim said, and Bill very strongly confirmed, they've never seen anything like it. In all of the years that they've been in business, they've never seen what's happening now like it. So it's a great honor. But so this plant, you might talk about it. This plant goes 24 hours around the clock. Before, it used to go 3 hours around the clock.
No, it will. So we're adding a third shift, and it's going to be running, as the president said, 24 hours, 6 days a week. And that just shows the demand there is for this product, which is the best-selling product, as you all know, in America. And it just gets hotter and hotter. So we have a
Now, this plant is the F-150 plant.
great relationship with the president and his whole staff. They've been great to work with for us. He personally is incredibly responsive every time we need something or call. We very much appreciate it, and you know, we couldn't be more excited. We're adding market share. We're growing as a company. We're adding jobs, not just here but elsewhere. Yeah, times are good for us.
And all of the U.S. automakers now are doing great, and before they were having a really hard time. You couldn't. The environmentalists would not have let them survive.
So, Mr. President, when you renegotiate USMCA, how is that going to help auto workers like Ford?
I don't even think about USMCA. I mean, you know, I want to see Canada and Mexico do well, but the problem is we don't need their product. You know, we don't need cars made in Canada. We don't need cars made in Mexico. We want to make them here. And that's what's happening. Everybody's moving here. From Canada, they're coming here. From Mexico, from Japan, from Germany, from all over the world. They're opening up their plants. Bill is lucky because he's had a lot here, but when he doesn't have it here, he's moving here. They're doing big expansions for it. But they're all doing great. The car industry is exciting, and to be honest with you, Bill, every industry is exciting.
Yeah.
Just like this.
Well, we need to rebuild our industrial base, and that's been a priority of yours.
And we're adding a combustion vehicle, a combustion truck, affordable one in Tennessee to the president's note. That's what these policies are doing for Ford. We're going to actually expand one of our existing plants and make a different kind of truck there.
Tariffs?
Yeah. Yes, and the EPA, the relief of the
tariffs and the relief I gave them from the most ridiculous standards. We had put 3 computers on a car in order to save about this much gasoline from a glass. It was crazy, but very proud of them. And Ford has really been a leader. They've done a great job, but all of them. General Motors is doing really well. Stellantis is doing really well. We're really happy about it. I just wanted to build their product in the USA.
You don't think you're going to renegotiate USMCA?
Well, I can. It expires very shortly. And we could have it or not. It wouldn't matter to me. I think they want it. I don't really care about it.
So it might go away. So you guys are not getting rid of this.
Now, I was one of the very first, if not the first person on YouTube, first independent, to start pointing this out way before. Before Trump was even elected, I was warning if Trump gets elected. Watching what Canada was doing. Now, this pertains to every aspect of Canada, what Trump is doing. He is completely just demolishing the Green collective, the Green socialist ideology. They have convinced people, again, brainwashing propaganda about this whole carbon credit, carbon this, carbon footprint, carbon this. You ever notice the people, the biggest loudspeakers of this are the ones that are making billions of dollars? The ones that are losing money, watching housing prices explode, food costs explode. Everything within our everyday life becomes out of touch, out of reach, as our wages stagnate. And in the meantime, record profits for CEOs, the largest gap in the world, actually, between the rich and the poor. This is what you get when you get a government run by globalists. You have to think of your country first. This is where Trump is so far ahead of everybody. And like I say, I'm not a Trump fan per se as a Canadian, because I knew he was going to destroy what little bit of Canadian power we had, because it's in his country's best interest. But I do agree, this is the type of leader every nation needs. They need to be able to negotiate and barter a free trade system in order to create an equality amongst every nation. You get that, all of a sudden, you don't get pesos and dollars. Everybody's dollar becomes fairly close, because the ethics and work habits of a country, its productivity, starts to match and equal out to those on different countries. You start to remove the idea of, 10,000 gallons per tree to grow something that doesn't belong in your area, that shouldn't be growing in your country. All for profits, paid for off the back of the environment and the workers who are making these people rich. This is why equal and free trade is so important. Now you throw on carbon credits, carbon taxes, all the rest of the bullshit taxes that go with it, the regulatory systems. Did you really think Canada could compete? I saw this 7 years ago. It dawned on me watching what was going on, especially with the billions of dollars, tax dollars, that the Liberal government and Ford, the Liberal government in Ontario, were giving to these so-called electric cars and batteries. And hello, the technology, first of all, isn't there. Secondly, you can't socialize a system and force people to buy something that doesn't have the technology to literally take over, let alone try to prop up an industry that can't be competitive against another country that doesn't have the same taxes, carbon pricing. all the rest of the different regulations stomping on that industry. If you want to make a living wage, the best way to do it is to get a government that removes regulatory processes, stops trying to be part of or control corporations, and stop taxing the workers to death. This is what Trump is doing. He is just pushing through a maximum 10% interest on credit cards. There's some credit card companies that charge up to 27%. Canada's one of the worst. Why? Well, bankers love it, like Carney and all his buddies. They make billions of dollars. You buy something you can't afford. You try to hope that you need it. It's not a want, it's a need. And then you're in debt, and then all of a sudden your interest rates start to rise, and next thing you know, you're losing your house. Who ends up winning? The bankers. The Carneys. The Carnage Carneys end up winning. Canada never had a chance when it came to the automotive industry, let alone the steel industry, let alone any industry. When you have a government who not only taxes the living daylights out of its citizens, but its companies, then regulates the frickin' bejesus out of people, then tries to control every aspect of who you can trade with, which provinces, if you're allowed to tax between here and there, how much of their percentage they're going to get, then start giving rights to small groups that they have the power to stop something, even though it goes against what the actual democracy wants. Divide, conquer. This is liberal fascism. This is liberal socialism. Our country has been plummeting in the last 10 years. It's disgusting how far down we have fallen. I mean, unbelievable. This chart shows it. This is the G7's real GDP per capita. Now, if you look very carefully, this is from 2015 all the way until 2025. That red dropping bomb is Canada. When was the election? Right there. When did Carney come in? Oh, right there. Are we getting any better? Has he changed any of the old liberal policies? Has he removed the gatekeepers? Has he removed the regulations? Has he stopped taxing Canadians to death? Has he stopped spending Canadians' money and putting Canada in debt? No. Nothing has changed. It's the same party. Now we have the general. It's the only difference. Carney was running this party. If you don't think so, you gotta watch a lot more independent media and scroll back if you're a new viewer and check out a year ago when I started this channel. This is the reality of Canada. Look where the United States is at. Look carefully at the numbers. You can see it clear as day. The numbers don't lie. Politicians and statisticians do. That's the reality.
No real advantage to us. It's irrelevant to me. Canada would love it. Canada wants it. They need it. Because we don't need Canada product. That's the thing. You know, I want to be a nice person, but we don't need... I want to build the cars here, not in Canada. We used to build cars in Canada. Now, the Canada cars, the Canadians are moving here to build cars. Same thing with Mexico. Same thing with Japan. Japan's paid us billions and billions of dollars for the privilege of making cars here and selling cars.
auto manufacturing that you'd like to see in the United States? Are you satisfied with the level where it's at right now?
The quality is unbelievable. So we're at a Ford 150 plant, and I don't know that much about cars, but I know how to get people working. And all I can tell you is that people talk so much about the 150, and it has been for a long time. They make a great product, a quality product, better than anybody else can make in Europe or in any other location. Look, the Ford 150 has done well for a long time because they make a great product.
Have you ever allowed Chinese autos into the U.S.?
Well, as you know, we have a tariff on Chinese autos, and in Europe, China's taking over the auto business, I would say is a nice statement, but that's the way it is. And here, what is it, 100%? We have 100% tariff on any car coming in from China. So that makes them able to do very nicely against China.
Mr. President, what
Right?
about the...
Pretty good, right? Who would have thought that was going to happen, right?
What about the raw
Everybody
materials?
said that the cars are dead in the United States. If you go back 4 years ago into the middle of the Biden administration, everybody was closing up their plants. Now we have more plants being built in our country than at any time in history. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And it's the election, November 5th, and it's other things, but it's also, I think, maybe the biggest part, the election, because I'm the tariff person. And everybody now admits that I was right on tariffs. And I hope that we win the Supreme Court case.
Mr. President, what about the raw materials coming in from countries like Canada? How do these companies deal with the fact that those
Well, we get it, but we have a lot of our own raw materials. And, you know, the word raw and rare are a little bit of a misnomer. They're not very rare. You have a lot of places.
I'll post the link. I urge you to watch this entire his whole presser and then his speech he does, because he goes off. He just keeps nailing Canada left and right, and he does a lot of it in the typical kind of, you know, subliminal way he does, where you kind of know who he's talking about while he's talking. And I'm already over time on this episode, so I'm not going to kind of really go into that. But in the meantime, you have Carney, Carnage Carney, with all of his fanfare. Now, he does this all the time. Trudeau was actually one of the first politicians to really do this. There's nobody who gives a crap. Nobody gives a rat's arse about this guy. But the media will try and make it seem as though there's hundreds of people out there and he's going to wave goodbye to them. This is him. He's leaving Canada. He's en route to China. Now, the saddest part is he called the MPs back from Taiwan. The only MPs that came home were his liberal gullies. His socialists, who are the same party that's been in power the last 10 years. They came running home because they don't want to hurt Canadian-Chinese, negotiations? We have the weakest government on the face of the planet. Normally it's, one step forward, 2 steps back. These guys, literally, it's 5 steps back, 5 steps back, 5 steps back. And the media keeps saying how he's like the most popular prime minister and he's soaring in the polls. And it's because of propaganda. And those polls mostly likely are skewed anyways, because most of the pollsters, and by the way, they get paid by the government to poll, so they want to poll in favor of the government. And most of the pollsters are, they're liberals. You're literally leaving a democratic country that for decades we have been trying to protect in order to kiss cheese butt. So what? For what? Why are we even doing a single deal with a communistic government who takes people off the streets, ends their life, pulls organs, and sells them to the rich Chinese communist elite, let alone what they do to the Uyghurs? Has the takeover of Tibet been that long that people have forgot about the persecution and how the Dalai Lama can't even go back to his own country in order to be part of his own religion? One of the largest religions within the Eastern nations? Have Buddhists forgot? I have a hard time wrapping my head around this. But in the same aspect, this is why I started the channel, because I do understand. Most of the people out there, they're not dumb. They're brainwashed. This is why I need you guys to like, share, and subscribe. And not just me. There's other great independent media out there. I try to showcase them whenever I can. Some of them are clickbait. In fact, a lot of them are clickbait. You got to watch the clickbait. And always look at what they're giving you for information. See if they are finding the source. If you get nothing but X, easy, easy. That's called AI, and not spending the time to do the homework and then using AI to sound like they know what they're talking about. They actually aren't investigative. They're just looking for an easy paycheck. Then you get others who are fighting to get subscribers, who give you all of the links in the description below, like I do, in order for you to have access to the information. These are the people you need to like, share, and subscribe to. Now, I'm not saying that some of the clickbaiters out there aren't good. Some of them are very good. But are they trustworthy when they can't actually tell you the truth of the videos they're showing you? Are you getting the truth if you don't have the ability to actually click on a link and watch it in its entirety? Or are they using manipulated videos off of X, which they think may be true, that have already been cut and edited in order to pass an agenda? It takes piles and piles of research and time in order to create a true newscast, in order to put a journal together. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know it was a bit of a downer. Iran needs us right now. And obviously our government is useless. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to try and do my daily casts as normal. I'm just trying to kind of get things caught up in my personal life. And of course, the fights I've had with YouTube in the last 3 months. And again, especially with what I'm showing in Iran, I'm going to be fighting. I can only imagine. My last video, I just shook my head. I've been fighting reports. I passed all of them. Thank God. I got okayed in all of them, but I'm still going to be censored to the max because of Canadian censorship laws. And YouTube are full of liberals too, so that hurts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm Alias Tagai. Stay informed.